Welcome to Catholic Ed for All, your weekly insight into topics of special education in Catholic schools. My name is Dr. Raul Escarpio, and I invite you to join me each week as we learn how to be more inclusive in Catholic schools and continue to live out St. John Paul II's message of open wide the doors to Christ. Many thanks go out to RCL Benziger, who is generously sponsoring this podcast. RCL Benziger enriches the worldwide Catholic community by providing the most engaging and highest quality resources, programs, and services rooted in the rich and diverse tradition of the Catholic faith. And now, on to our show. On the show today, I am joined by Miss Abbie Greer, Director of Student Support at Bishop McNamara High School in Forestville, Maryland. Why, hello, Abbie. Welcome to the show, and thanks for being here.
Hi, Raul. Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad you can make it, Abbie. So, Abbie, can you please tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure, I'd love to. So I am in my 14th year in Catholic education. I currently serve at Bishop McNamara High School as the Director of Student Support. This is a school where I started my teaching career as a biology teacher, and life has come full circle. In the middle of all that, I was a school counselor and a principal in local Catholic elementary schools, and I came back to McNamara 3 years ago. I have a master's from George Washington University in counseling, and I'm in the last year of my doctoral program at Creighton University.
Oh,
I have my husband.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I've been married for 10 years. My husband's a theology and social studies teacher at Bishop McNamara. We both were teaching here when we met, and we have 2 children who are enrolled in Catholic school locally. My daughter's in 2nd grade, so it's a big year, and my son is in pre-K.
Sounds like a very busy life, Abbie.
It is, and when I'm not doing all that, I enjoy running and watching sports and cheering on our basketball team and staying as active as possible.
Well, let's be clear, running very long distances.
Yes, I ran the Philadelphia Marathon this fall for the Parkinson's Foundation. My mom has Parkinson's, so it's a charity that's really close to my heart. And so it's a great experience. I'm hoping to do it again next year.
Fantastic. So you went from biology to administration and then back to your high school. Is that about right?
That summarizes it, yeah, with some counseling in the middle there.
With some counseling in the middle. Do you miss the biology days, or are you more of the counseling phase now?
Well, I'm sure we'll get more into it later, but right now I am modifying the curriculum for one of our students in a biology class. So right now I spend every other day going over some biology. So that's been fun to be back in that.
Fantastic. So let's get to it. What does the Director of Student Support at Bishop McNamara High School do on a daily basis?
On a daily basis, I'm working with students. We have a resource center with a staff of 4 of us who oversee all of our resource periods. So we're helping students who might be struggling with organization or test prep, making sure that they're getting what they need to find success academically. Mixed in with that, I also oversee 4 major programs within the school. One is a program that works with students who need accommodations to access our curriculum. And we have a coordinator for that program who's in charge of the day-to-day. I work really closely with her and her team. And we have 52 students in that program, which is called the St. Joseph program. I also oversee our Middleton Scholars program, which is for students who are high achieving, low income. I work with our Project Pride program, which is for students who we identify as at risk or needing some additional support, normally not within the academic realm, but more socioeconomic. And then I'm in my first year overseeing our St. Andre program, which is brand new, and it's for students who have intellectual disabilities.
So I'm to assume St. Andre Bessette?
Yes, we're a Holy Cross school and named after St. Andre Bessette.
Fantastic. So these programs, what kind of inclusive populations do these programs serve? I know you started telling me about one for the St. Andre, but just give me a little rundown on them.
So Bishop McNamara has a really long history of being an inclusive environment. And since I started here 14 years ago until now, we work to create more structure, and the structures have formed to help students better succeed within the academic setting, not to segment them off. So the first program is the St. Joseph program, and that's in its 10th year. It's for students who need accommodations in order to be successful academically. Most of them are coming to us from Catholic school, and they have a long history of getting those inclusions, those accommodations on the elementary level. And so we work with them to make sure that they have a formal accommodation plan, that teachers are aware of that, and that they're getting those extended time or extra notes and the things that they need to be successful.
So I would take it that it would be on a student-by-student basis, these accommodations.
Absolutely. Everything's really individualized with them. And it's getting to know our students and knowing what they need best, while also preparing them for college, knowing that these are the accommodations they are going to get on the post-secondary level. So making sure that by the time they leave us, they're really strong self-advocates and they're able to know why they need what they need to be successful.
But I take it that Bishop McNamara is a college prep program, correct? It's a college prep high school?
Yes, we are. We absolutely are. And with both our students who need accommodations and then our students with intellectual disabilities, we know that they are college ready for programs. And that's something that we know that they are going on to college.
So how have these programs added to the Catholic identity of your school?
You know, I was working with our student in the St. Andre program today to get ready for a quiz in theology. And the essential learning that we had to make sure we were ready to go was that we're all made in God's image. And I think that's something that having an inclusive environment allows for our students to see every single day. We're in our first year of a program with a student with a very visible disability. He has Down syndrome. Mm-hmm. And our community has just embraced him for who he is, the same way they do with all their other peers. We're an extremely diverse community. Students come from all sorts of backgrounds and all sorts of different environments. And it's just another example of how we take care of each other as children of God.
Fantastic. So how many students are we talking about in this program? I don't remember if you told me.
So our St. Joseph program is in its 10th year, and we have 52 students. Our St. Andre program is in its very first year, and we have 1 student.
Okay, first year and you have 1 student, correct. And then
yes.
Is the child, let's talk about the St. Andre. So that student is in that program, and then they have a specialized class, or is it part of an inclusion class that are meeting the needs of that student?
We're really fortunate that we have another Holy Cross school that's all girls. It's about 45 minutes from us, that has a history of having a great intellectual disability program, and that's the Academy of the Holy Cross. So what we've done is we've spent a lot of time working with them to try to make sure that we're following the model they've worked so well to create. So this student, we have an 8-period schedule, and he takes 5 classes that are fully inclusive, and then 3 classes that are specifically for students in the St. Andre program. Right now, that's just him, but we have an application for next year in hopes that this program will grow to be a more dynamic environment.
And are you soliciting these applications from neighboring Catholic schools? Do they come to you? Are you building it up according to, I'm sure you're doing it according to year, but is there a limit as to how many you will include the following years?
So right now we're in the middle of year 1 and in our first application cycle, and we're just taking it one step at a time right now. Bishop McNamara, we are a full school, and we've been full for a very long time. So we have 880 students, and so we want to make sure as we look at applications for all of our students that we are as inclusive as possible while making sure we can meet the needs of the students that we have. So our St. Joseph program tends to bring in between 10 and 15 students each year. And the St. Andre program, we're taking one step at a time. Ideally, I would love to have at least 2 students in each grade. But right now, we know in our Catholic elementary schools, we have students who we hope will apply in the future from some of our local schools. We know there's student in fourth grade at one of our schools who would be a great candidate in the future. So we sort of have our eyes on the students that are coming up through our Catholic schools, but right now there aren't any in eighth grade that have applied to us. There are one applicant from next year coming from public school. So that's really exciting that we're able to look at this opportunity for students to now join a Catholic school environment for the first time.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, with that being said, can you give some advice to some high schools, especially college prep high schools, where they don't see an opportunity or an opening for including students with exceptional needs, especially one with an intellectual disability? What advice can you give for those programs that say, we're college prep, we don't need to do that? How can you help them create a program like that?
So I think the most important thing is to not be ignorant to what college means. There's over 30 programs nationwide for students with intellectual disabilities at the college level. At this point, none of them are at Catholic colleges, so that's disappointing. But there are programs for students with intellectual disabilities who finish high school to go on to college. And so that's something that, when you're college prep, we are too. We've got a great track record for our students going on being very successful in college. And we have the same expectations for our students in the St. Andre program, that they're going to go on to college. So I think there's a level of ignorance there that's pretty frustrating. But rooted in everything is normally a fear of failure. What if we don't do right by this student? What if we don't do right by this family? And I think that the major approach needs to happen is to just open the door and try. When we met the student who came to us this year, like I said, we're full. But we saw this as a really great opportunity for our community to be more inclusive. And that's something that's really important to us, that when our students are walking the halls, that when they look around, it looks like the world they're going to live in.
Yes, fantastic. Amen to that. So, Abbie, what should Catholic special education look like if you had unlimited resources or pie in the sky, as they say?
I think no matter the resources or setup or even the level, if it's elementary or high school or post-secondary, Catholic education and Catholic special education should be communal. It should be rooted in community, because including students who learn differently positively impacts all areas of the community. It impacts everyone. And I know having our student here this year has positively impacted the teachers he's working with. It's impacted his peers. He was in the play. It's impacted all of the friends that he made through that process. So rooted in all of it, side by side with our faith tradition, is the idea of community.
Fantastic. Abbie, I want to thank you for joining me today and sharing your gifts and all the great work that you're doing at Bishop McNamara. I wish you nothing but prayers and blessings, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, that's it for this week. If this podcast was a blessing to you, can you please head over to iTunes and subscribe and give us a review or a rating? It really does help other Catholic educators find the podcast and use it as a resource. Thanks again to the amazing people at RCL Benziger for generously sponsoring this podcast. Check out their new resource for Catholic schools, Blessed Are We, Faith in Action, which enables teachers to share the love of Christ with children who have special needs. Visit rclbenziger.com to learn more. Join me again next time as we continue to advance God's kingdom by including all of God's children in Catholic schools and faith formation. Until then, this is Dr. Raul Escarpio. Thanks for listening, and may God bless your day.